Welcome back into another Calibrated Ukraine battle map update. Today we are once again talking about the ongoing battle and encirclement of Ukrainian troops in the cities of Pokrovsk and Myrnohrad. But before we get into that, if you are new here, please consider clicking that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my videos going forward. And if you are returning, you guys know the easiest way you can support my work is by clicking that like button and leaving a comment. I like to see the comments under the post, so I appreciate how fantastic you guys have been with that. Without further ado, though, let's go ahead and get into this update, shall we? Heading over to the map here, we are going to zoom in on the Pokrovsk-Myrnohrad region. As you can see, the encirclement situation for the city of Myrnohrad has not changed. In fact, it has worsened. There is basically no chance of Ukrainian troops breaking this siege from either side, either escaping or entering and deblocking the city at this point. If we come down here, we can see that the city of Pokrovsk has been entirely captured. Russian forces are now expanding into Hershine over here and have captured the village of Rivne, which is in between Pokrovsk and Myrnohrad. This situation is just, there's almost no way to explain it for the AFU. This pocket should never have closed on these Ukrainians. These Ukrainians should not be stuck in this city. They are just getting bombed by Fab 3000s constantly in this area in all of these high-rise buildings. The city of Myrnohrad will be completely destroyed. The Ukrainian garrison is not choosing to surrender the way that they should. And basically what has happened at this point is that Ukrainian counterattacks towards the village of Radinske, Myrnohrad, and Pokrovsk have all ceased. So there are no more Ukrainian attacks attempting to deblock the encirclement here. It does appear as though the Ukrainians have basically given up on these two towns, written them off, and have all but forgotten their men who are currently trapped within the city of Myrnohrad. This is something that we've talked about for quite some time in this war. The Russian decision-making and lack of willpower to close salients throughout the entirety of this war has affected the Ukrainians, but also, I believe, created this illusion that the Russians were not capable of closing a certain salient, or they just felt comfortable waiting to the very last minute until something happened. And now with this battle in this city, we saw that the city of Pokrovsk just collapsed too fast for the Ukrainians to properly evacuate this garrison. The propaganda aspect of abandoning this city would have been just catastrophic for the Ukrainians back in August or September or even October. And now we are just looking at an absolutely disastrous situation here for the AFU, where this entire garrison is being reduced. It is being reported now that the Ukrainian forces, the reserves that had been brought in and that have been counterattacking in this area, are likely now being moved to the south, to the Hulyai-Polye area, to try to stabilize the Russian advances in this region. It is also being reported that the Russian 76th VDV has been moved into the Pokrovsk region. And this is very, very important. I see a lot of people talking about this movement of Russian troops in some sort of like negative way, that they need to bring in more men because that's the number of casualties they are taking. And that's just not the case. There are so many units in this area fighting already that those reserves are not required. But what those reserves are going to be used for is this right here. And I'm going to open this up and you guys will see this large yellow line. You can see how it goes from Ivanivka down here in the Dnepropetrovsk region, behind Mezova here, behind Slavyanka, and then up around these small villages north of Dobopila. This is what the Pokrovsk flower will look like. This will be the consequences of losing the city of Pokrovsk and Myrnohrad. This is why it is strategically significant. It is why it was so important for the Ukrainians to hold it for as long as they could. There's not a lot behind this. And once the Russians gain access to Pokrovsk and Myrnohrad, they will have railway access. This will become the new Donetsk city for the Russians to just explode out into all of these all of this farm fields behind all of the fortifications of Pokrovsk. This is a very, very difficult situation for the Ukrainians. And I'm going to take us over to the topographical map. Hades, come here. If you guys want to see Hades, my dog, come here, Hades. Oh, I don't know if he's going to come around. Come here, buddy. But let me take you over. There he is. Hey, he's a good boy. Take you over to the map of Bakhmut. The topographical map, sorry, not of Bakhmut, but the topographical map. It's always the Bakhmut topographical map, but then I scroll down to Pokrovsk right here. So now you can see where my drawing sort of outlines. It's going to push out of Myrnohrad and Pokrovsk. They're going to capture the high ground north of Ivanivka right here along the highway into Mazova, up around Slavyanka, up in this area, and then over onto the high ground north of Drobopila. So you can see how the high ground really begins in Myrnohrad here and then goes north towards Drobopila and then up into this area. I believe that this is how the Russians are going to expand, and I do not think the Ukrainians have the reserves currently to defend the area in which the Russians hope to push into. This is going to create a number of issues, first and foremost. It is going to greatly destabilize the entire region here north of the Vovocha River, which has been kind of a good defensive line for the Ukrainians. You can see the blue right here. That's the Vovocha River. If this ends up happening, it's going to greatly destabilize all of this. Additionally, to the north, if the Russians are able to push onto this high ground, they will gain control over this area right here, which is the back end of the Konstantinivka, Druskivka, Kramatorsk, Slavyansk line. So that will be pretty important. And we kind of already saw the Russians moving in this direction with this breakthrough in August, which tried to get up into Novotrotsky and block the highway into Drobopila. That was pushed back, and the Ukrainians lost the city of Pokrovsk, was kind of like the trade there for that situation. But yeah, this is the blooming of the Pokrovsk flower right here. Get ready, because when things start happening here fast, the Ukrainians are already talking about how the winter is going to be very difficult. The peace plan, which has been presented by the Trump administration, is basically a no-go for all sides. We are seeing Europe take over the division of labor for Ukraine, and we are going to see the fighting continue. I don't think that there is any cessation of hostilities anytime in the future. I've said this for the last 2 years, and I've been right every time. I'm going to stick with my guns on that. And I think what you're going to see is developments on the battlefield, such as this, which will put the Ukrainians into a terrible position by March or April of next year. And that's if the line holds that long. We could see a dramatic shift in events in the coming days and weeks, because there are so many external factors putting pressure on Ukraine right now. We have a corruption scandal in Kiev. We have a U.S. pressure to end the conflict, even though I don't really think it's real. And there's just going to be a morale hit when you lose cities like Pokrovsk-Myrnohrad. The encirclement in Myrnohrad is completely destroyed because your military failed to extricate them. The village of Holyai-Polye is about to be captured. The village of Konstantinivka has been entered and will likely be 50% captured by December 31st, New Year's. And then also Kupiansk. So just so you guys can see that, that's down here in the south, Holyai-Polye. This might not fall if the reserves from the Pokrovsk salient are able to stabilize. But down in this area, the Russians are talking about how there are very few Ukrainians, and the fog is making drone operations almost impossible. So that's what's going on down here in the south. You have the encirclement, which is closing. You have Konstantinivka, which has been breached. And obviously, Seversk has been entered. Liman is getting much worse for the Ukrainians, and Kupiansk is almost entirely finished. The General Staff, the MOD of Russia today, claimed that the entirety of Kupiansk had been captured. I do not believe that is true. I believe the entire western portion of Kupiansk has been captured. tired, captured. I think they've moved down this river right here, although I have not seen a geolocation to update my map. But I believe that there are probably still Ukrainians on this eastern side in the south. And that's why we don't listen to MODs. We don't listen to the Ukrainian MOD. We don't listen to the Russian MOD. We don't listen to the Pentagon. Well, you listen to them, but you don't trust them. You take everything in with a huge pinch of salt, and you have to pick out the truth where it lies, because usually there are omissions and stuff in their reports, and you can figure some things out. But again, don't trust MODs, whether it's the side you support or it's the side you don't support. They're propaganda outlets for the interests of the nation. So thank you all so much for tuning in today. This will probably be the last episode for the Battle of Myrnohrad and Pokrovsk, unless a major event takes place. The battle is coming to an end. It will probably be over by next week or a few days after that, just based off of how the pocket is closing now. Thank you all so much for tuning in. If you guys would please consider subscribing, leaving a like, and leaving a comment. It is the easiest way you can support me. If you want more of my work, go to the link in the description. You'll find my Twitter and my Telegram. Thank you all so much. And like I always say, try to do something for somebody else. It's real easy to get selfish and lazy in life, but it's worthwhile to do something for somebody else sometimes. So make it happen and be good. Okay. Have a safe weekend and take care, everyone.